Good evening. It's New Year's Eve 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Priya Sridhar. The U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is on lockdown after protests erupted Tuesday morning. Hundreds of demonstrators descended on the compound to rail against U.S. airstrikes in Iraq and Syria. Officials say there are no plans to evacuate the embassy for now. Reporter Whitney Wild has the latest from Washington.
The White House calls protests at the U.S. Embassy in Iraq an escalation, while groups behind them say they're an expression of anger. Tuesday, Iranian-backed protesters attacked the compound in Baghdad, burning items, smashing windows, and throwing rocks. Additional Marines and 2 Apache helicopters have been deployed to secure the embassy. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo spoke to Iraqi leaders, including the Prime Minister, who have demanded protesters leave the U.S. compound.
This was sort of a controlled display of violence, but everybody drew back when it could have gone too far.
Tensions erupted after the U.S. initiated airstrikes in Iraq and Syria Sunday. The U.S. launched the strikes in response to attacks by Kataib Hezbollah, an Iranian-backed militia group which the U.S. blames for killing a contractor Friday. At least 25 people were killed in the U.S. airstrikes and 51 people were wounded. In a statement, the militia group said this protest was a stand against U.S. political dominance.
This whole back and forth is fueling Iraqi politicians who have been pushing for a long time to reduce or eliminate the U.S. presence in Iraq.
The president blamed Iran, tweeting, "Iran killed an American contractor, wounding many. We strongly responded and always will." And later, to those many millions of people in Iraq who want freedom and who don't want to be dominated and controlled by Iran, this is your time. In Washington, I'm Whitney Wild reporting.
The carrier USS Abraham Lincoln is on a record-breaking deployment. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh interviewed the captain, who says the ship is now slowly making its way to San Diego.
The Lincoln left Norfolk, Virginia, April 1st. The carrier was scheduled to go around the world, eventually ending up in its new home port of San Diego. But it had a lot to do along the way. The Lincoln was rushed to the Middle East to counter what the White House saw as an escalation of tension with Iran. Captain Walt Slaughter was reached via radio from somewhere in the Philippine Sea.
We certainly stayed quite a bit longer than we planned, but that's okay because I think everybody realized the importance of our mission in promoting maritime security in a very unstable part of the world.
The Navy has been pushing to keep deployments under 7 months, citing the strain on crews and their families. The previous Cold War record for the longest deployment by a U.S. carrier is 290 days, a record actually held by the USS Abraham Lincoln. Reached in the middle of the night Tuesday, San Diego time, the captain says this deployment will be longer.
We're going to set the record. So
Okay.
I'm not sure, everybody on board is excited to break that record.
The Lincoln was part of a home port swap by 3 U.S. carriers. That means families for the Lincoln's crew of 3,300, not counting the air wing, have been left to debate when to move to the West Coast.
We expected to be home for the holidays and weren't, and that's a little bit of added impact. But, the families is our biggest strength. We rely on their support as much as anything to keep us going out here, and they've been absolutely great.
The commander of the Lincoln says he's limited in what he can say about what happened in the last year or about when they will appear in San Diego. The carrier's air wing participated in 392 sorties over Afghanistan and Syria. And as they left the Middle East, they were trailed by a group of Iranian naval vessels. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
It was a chaotic year on Capitol Hill. From the highly anticipated Mueller report to President Trump's impeachment, the drama was nonstop. Nadia Romero takes a look back at the White House's wild ride in 2019.
Well, I don't feel like I'm being impeached because it's a hoax. It's a setup.
President Trump became the 3rd president in history to be impeached by the House.
Article 1 is adopted.
The president is now facing trial in the Senate on 2 articles of impeachment, one for abuse of power, the other for obstruction of Congress. The House vote came after a House Intelligence Committee investigation led to the delivery of an explosive report stating the president placed his own personal and political interests above the national interests of the United States. The report came after public and private testimonies from key witnesses, sparked by an anonymous whistleblower who reported misconduct on a phone call between President Trump and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, alleging the White House withheld aid in an effort to pressure Zelensky to help Trump with the 2020 election by making a public announcement that they would launch an investigation into Ukrainian energy company Burisma and their dealings with Joe Biden's son.
This was an illegal witch hunt, and everybody knew it.
President Trump lashed out against the Mueller probe into alleged Russian collusion involving the Trump campaign, a scandal that haunted his presidency from the very beginning. After nearly 2 years of investigations, Mueller released his findings, concluding the Trump campaign believed it would benefit from the actions of the Russian government, but there was no evidence of collusion.
I pledge that this Congress will be transparent, bipartisan, and unifying.
Democrats regained control of the House, allowing Nancy Pelosi to regain her power as House Speaker, making her the first woman to ever hold the job twice and the first person in 6 decades to regain the post.
But he's sticking to the wall.
The battle over President Trump's border wall kept the U.S. in the longest government shutdown in history, spawning chaos in America's airports and national parks.
Paychecks are stopped.
And causing torment for government workers who depended on a regular paycheck. President Trump eventually signed a bill to end the shutdown, which didn't have funding for the wall.
We have a crisis at the border.
Thousands of immigrant children separated from their parents and taken into custody after President Trump declared a national emergency at the line between two countries, allowing him funds to start work on his proposed border wall, sparking backlash from many states and Congress, and in October, a federal judge who ruled the move unlawful. The deaths of some immigrants while in ICE custody or shortly following their release prompted widespread concern about conditions in the facilities. An Inspector General's report from the Department of Homeland Security found immediate risk to the health and safety of some of the migrants.
How many Americans must die in the Middle East?
President Trump shocked the world when he suddenly announced the U.S. would be withdrawing its forces from Syria, sparking backlash from top military officials and politicians on both sides of the political aisle. Many condemned the move, saying America was turning its back on its longtime allies, the Kurds, and leaving them to die as Turkish forces invaded. President Trump has signaled his intention to withdraw months before, claiming victory over ISIS.
We own our own bodies.
Women dressed as handmaids took to the streets all across America in protest to controversial abortion bans that were passed in several states, Alabama passing the strictest of them all. It considers abortion a felony and could land a doctor behind bars for up to 99 years for performing one. The law has been temporarily blocked by a federal court. And political legend Elijah Cummings passed away at the age of 68. Former presidents and top lawmakers packed into a Baltimore church to pay their final respects. I'm Nadia Romero with the most impactful political stories of 2019.
Well, 2020 may be the year you get fewer annoying robocalls. President Donald Trump signed a law Monday increasing fines for companies using the phone for illegal financial schemes and other services. The Traced Act gives officials the authority to fine companies $10,000 for each illegally placed call. The new law comes after the Federal Communications Commission announced a nationwide crackdown of robocalls in June. That's also when it gave wireless carriers permission to block some unwanted calls automatically. The Traced Act is a bipartisan measure passed by the House and Senate earlier this year. Uber and Postmates are suing California over its law designed to protect gig workers. The companies say AB 5 violates both the U.S. and California state constitutions. The federal lawsuit calls the measure vague and incoherent. AB 5 is a sweeping law that forbids the use of contract workers in many instances. It requires companies like Uber and Postmates to treat workers as employees and provide benefits like paid sick days, minimum wage, and health insurance. The new law is set to take effect in 2020. California's young adults who may be in the country illegally are now eligible for publicly funded health coverage. KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento went to a San Diego clinic where they're hopeful the change will improve health outcomes and reduce expensive emergency costs.
A flyer inside the Family Health Center's waiting room offers uninsured patients help with Medi-Cal enrollment if they're a legal California resident. Tomorrow, it'll be out of date. In 2020, undocumented young adults become eligible for the state's Medicaid program. A new law extends coverage for low-income 19 to 25-year-olds who can't prove their immigration status. Jeff Gehring oversees program operations at Family Health Centers of San Diego. He says the change will let people see a doctor before a health need becomes dire and costly. Right now, low-income patients without a verified immigration status are restricted to emergency care coverage only.
You can treat someone for a medical condition in an outpatient setting at a fraction of cost, or you can have that care, that medical condition exacerbate, get worse, and then they require to be hospitalized, which can cost many $1,000s more.
He says the change is especially helpful for mental health needs.
The second leading cause of death for this age group is suicide. And so that is another condition that if treated early and under treatment, you can prevent hospitalizations.
The state budget included $98 million to cover the change that'll affect about 90,000 people in California. About 10,000 will be impacted in San Diego County. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
It's the biggest party in the world. New York City on New Year's Eve. Thousands of people from around the world descend on Times Square every year, and this year is no different. Daryl Forges is in the middle of it all as we say goodbye to 2019 and usher in 2020 from New York City.
2020 is finally here. Well, if you're in places like Singapore or Australia.
Happy New Year.
Here in the Big Apple, excitement is building for the annual celebration.
I always watched it as a kid growing up with my family every New Year's. My first time coming, so yeah, it's great to be here.
All eyes will be on the historic New Year's Ball. This megasphere is composed of 2,688 Waterford crystal triangles. This year, 192 of those crystals are engraved with pineapples, symbolizing hospitality and goodwill.
This year's theme is the gift of goodwill. It's about taking pause for just a second and celebrating that goodness that's in every single situation.
Before the big countdown, there's a lot of preparation, including making sure everyone is safe.
Times Square is probably going to be the safest place on the planet Earth on New Year's Eve.
Law enforcement are not the only ones with their hands full. So are event organizers with the toughest work, like a confetti test. Yes, a confetti test. There was also a ball test earlier in the week, all to make sure everything goes off without a hitch for an event that brings families, friends, and even strangers from all over the world together.
We just wanted to see the ball drop here.
It's just a blessing, a true blessing.
In Times Square, New York, I'm Daryl Forges.
And in just hours, millions of San Diegans will be ringing in the new year, and transit officials want to make sure people have a safe ride home. For the first time, the Metropolitan Transit System is offering free rides on all trolley and buses for New Year's Eve. The North County Transit District also does the promotion annually. It's an effort to encourage people to use public transportation and make sure they're getting home safely.
New Year's Eve can be one of the deadliest days on the road due to the intoxicated people getting behind the wheel of a vehicle. You don't want to begin a promising new year behind bars for driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and you don't want to begin it behind bars for taking an innocent person's life or end your new year losing your own.
There will also be late-night trolley service today. The green, blue, and orange lines will all run past 2 a.m. No pass or promotion code is needed to catch the free rides. Just hop on a bus or a train after 6 p.m. 2019 is in the books, so what can you expect if you're going out tonight? Meteorologist Regina Miller has our New Year's Eve forecast for around the county.
Well, we had windy conditions, but those will start to diminish for tonight. So in San Diego, we have a temperature at midnight, 52 degrees for your New Year's Eve celebrations, and the real feel at 50. Mostly clear skies, and our winds are out of the east at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So those start to diminish tonight. Our temperatures tonight around Oceanside will be dropping ultimately into the upper 30s. In San Diego, will ultimately start to drop into the 40s as we go through the late night hours. I'll have your complete forecast for the new year 2020 coming up.
If you're taking it easy tonight but looking for something to do tomorrow for the new year, the San Diego International Auto Show is back. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman got a sneak peek before the kickoff.
We're here inside the San Diego Convention Center where last-minute preparations are underway for the auto show. It runs tomorrow through Sunday. Joining me with more information is the auto show's chairman, Richard Neuendijk. Richard, more than 400 cars this year. What's new at the auto show this year?
Well, the whole place is new, right? Every year is completely different because we have a new model year of cars. We have new futuristic cars. You'll be able to come here and see cars that you may never get to buy, and also cars that were probably bought and sold before you were around. So it's got a vast array of things for you to look at.
Right, and I know you guys as an auto show, you guys have done some research. What do you guys find that people, when they come to an auto show, what are they looking for? Are they looking to buy? Are they looking just to look? What are they looking for?
Believe it or not, we survey the people, and 64% of the people who come here plan to buy a new car within the next 12 months. So it's a great place to shop for a car because no one's going to try and sell you today. You don't have to worry that someone's going to say, listen, if you're this, all that, right? You come down, you get the information, you compare the models you like. We have over 100 cars you can drive. You could take your family out, drive the car you're thinking about buying for the family, and then come back in and do more research. And then when you're ready, our local dealers are ready to help you out.
And we're talking about electric cars, hybrids, or just pure electric vehicles. Are they going to be on display here? I know that that's been a talk, obviously, for decades, but what's that look like this year?
We absolutely have one day. The 2nd, January 2nd, is EV Day. So we'll have a lot of special extra people in that section to explain not only the EVs and the technology behind them, but the tax ramifications of buying one, those kinds of things, so that you can really make an educated decision. I mean, this is a place where you won't get sold something, but you might want to go buy something.
And obviously, if somebody's thinking about coming to the auto show, what kind of cars are they going to see? Obviously, we have some Acuras here behind us. Are they going to see average, everyday cars, or are they going to see some of these like super crazy supercars?
Oh, everything. I mean, we have cars from Herbie the Love Bug down on one end to exotic vaults with Rolls Royces and Lamborghinis and Ferraris in it. And then we have the everyday cars you see every day. So we've got something from everyone. Over 25 manufacturers are here on site with product consultants to help you understand what you're looking at.
O'Gara Coach of San Diego, they're bringing out some of the big guns, some of the more exotic cars here at the car show. Richard Farler is here to join me now with more.
Hey Matt,
Richard,
how are you?
Good, good. Richard, what are some of the cars you guys have here?
We have got actually a myriad of vehicles out here. We're still loading in, but we've got the Bentleys, Rolls Royces, McLarens, and Lamborghinis. We are the world's largest, pretty much world's largest in most of those brands. So the car you're looking at right here, this is a 2020 all-new redesigned Bentley Continental GTC, redesigned after a 14-year hiatus. Glacier white over a Hotspur interior, hand-built, handmade, unbelievable car. It takes about 9 months to build one.
And why are people so fascinated by these supercars?
I think the biggest reason is that they are highly customizable. I mean, when you take a car like this, you can put any interior color, any exterior color, you can pretty much design it the way you want, and that's what makes these highly bespoke. Also the fact that they're British cars. These are the very, very high-end 205-mile-an-hour GT car right here on a big car, right?
Right, a very high-end car. I imagine these are on a lot of people's dream lists. If somebody wants to buy one of these kind of cars, how much cash are we talking? They have to
$288 for that one. That's $266 average, but $288 for this. This is a $210,000 entry-level price car for the GT. This is sort of a more sedate version of the McLaren, which was Bruce McLaren was the founder of Formula One race car, McLaren race cars, and that's what these are, street legal race cars. This one's about $240. We have the McLaren 720. That's a 710 horsepower, 212-mile-an-hour car, full-blown street legal hypercar. Unbelievable. 405 grand, like I said, but unbelievable cars.
And what makes these cars so expensive? I mean, I know you said this is one of the favorites.
Yeah, so this, good example of this. This is a 4-liter twin-turbo V8. It's a carbon fiber tub. Everything on this car is designed with speed and racing in mind. It's a street legal Formula One Can-Am race car. That's really what it is. And so when you look at this with its dihedral doors, its low center of gravity, it's a car like it will propel you from 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, 5.3 seconds to 100. It is probably one of the fastest cars you'll ever drive that's under $1 million. It is insane is the only word I can say.
Wow, and all these cars are going to be here at the auto show. It runs tomorrow through Sunday here at the San Diego Convention Center. Tickets online, $15. For more information, go to kpbs.org. Here at the Convention Center, Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Early diagnosis and intervention can make a difference when it comes to autism. A group of researchers in upstate New York are hopeful a new test will help doctors detect autism earlier. Nicole Somavia explains.
Once they've collected the sample, they're incubated in here, and then they'll be ready for RNA extraction.
This lab is designed to detect autism in these samples of saliva, a much faster way to a diagnosis.
Making it possible to diagnose
without requiring a thorough behavioral assessment that could take 1.5 to 2 years to get an appointment to perform.
Dr. Frank Middleton has been behind the research since it started 6 years ago. It's still ongoing, but the need was so high, the company Quadrant Biosciences released the test last month, giving children access to it now.
Our whole goal with Clarify ASD is to change the average age of diagnosis for autism spectrum disorder from the 5th year of life to hopefully the 2nd or 3rd year of life.
Early detection and early intervention is the deciding factor.
Dr. Middleton tells me studies show if early intervention is initiated, almost half the children will be indistinguishable from their peers by 2nd grade.
It doesn't have to be one that is a downward trajectory. It's one that with the right support, with the right intervention, with the right behavioral therapies in place, can be a very positive one.
The research is in its final stage of development. Scientists are looking for more children between 18 months and 4 years old to participate at Upstate Medical University in Syracuse. You can fill out a form on the school's website to learn more. Greyhound is offering free bus tickets to runaway kids who want to go home. The bus line has provided more than 16,000 free bus tickets to runaways since it began working with the National Runaway Safe Line in 1995. People interested in getting a free ticket must call 1-800-RUNAWAY. They must be listed on a runaway report and their family has to be willing to receive them. National Runaway Safe Line also helps connect families to resources to provide support once a child returns home. The organization says nearly half of all runaways were thrown out of their homes. News junkies might need to sit down for this one. The museum is closing its doors for the final time today. Officials from the Washington, D.C. Museum say the move comes after years of financial struggle. Over the last 11 years, nearly 10 million people have visited the museum. It showcased artifacts like the Pentagon Papers and historic newspaper front pages. Now the collection will be properly stored and the items will be available for loans for educational programs and other initiatives. Losing weight, quitting smoking, saving money, just some of the most popular New Year's resolutions, but how do you make them stick? Mandy Gaither has some tips that can help.
Every year starts out with the best intentions to become your best self. But according to a 2015 story from U.S. News and World Report, 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by the second week of February. The American Psychological Association says these 5 things can turn a struggle into a success. First, start small. Go after a realistic goal. For example, if more exercise is your resolution, begin with a few days a week instead of 7. Next, change one behavior at a time. Changing too much at once may be overwhelming. Talk about it. Make sure family and friends know your goals so they can help. Joining a group like a workout class or getting together with others who are quitting smoking can also help with resolution success. But if you have a slip, don't beat yourself up. Simply recover from the mistake and get back on track. Finally, seek support. Don't face the stress of reaching your goals alone. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Tonight will be clear, but how about the first few days of 2020? Meteorologist Regina Miller has our full forecast for the rest of the week.
Well, we'll start to see some improvements in the new year, at least the start of it. Winds will start to subside as we go through the remainder of the day, but especially into tonight, we'll notice those diminish. Getting a bit warmer for the late week, and the surf will build through the late week as well. So that's going to create some pretty dangerous rip currents by the end of the week. But as we take a look at the satellite and radar wide view, the last couple of hours, there's a disturbance that is swinging to your south across Mexico. So we've had a couple of showers around the area here showing up on satellite and radar, but that diminishing as well. Tonight, we've just got clear skies, cool conditions for your New Year's Eve, 46 degrees. And into Oceanside, we drop into the 30s, so it's a chilly night there under clear skies at 39. Mount Laguna's at 31 degrees. Looking at your forecast for New Year's Day, we're going to see some sunshine out there. Mount Laguna's at 51, 66 in Oceanside and San Diego. And it is going to get milder here, a little bit milder each day progressively. So Thursday, mostly sunny at the coast, 65 degrees, 69 by Friday with a mostly sunny sky. Inland areas, your temperature will go from 68 tomorrow, and then we'll be up to 72 by Friday. Sunshine and nice, 73 for the late weekend. And for the mountain areas, we're at 50 degrees on Thursday, mostly sunny Friday. We'll get up to 57 by Saturday with plenty of sunshine. In the desert locations, mostly sunny Wednesday, your New Year's Day at 68 degrees, 69 on Thursday, and mostly sunny. We'll be up to 70 by the late weekend with sunshine. I'm Regina Miller, KPBS News.
Ring in the new year with a bang, or should I say with a pop. National Champagne Day recognizes the staple item at every New Year's Eve party, sparkling wine. Genuine champagne only comes from France's Champagne region. Only 8 varieties of grapes are allowed production in the Champagne region, which provides ideal temperature and soil to produce the grapes required. So enjoy a glass of bubbly as you say goodbye to 2019 and hello to 2020. Remember to drink responsibly and never drink and drive. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. We're leaving you with New Year's celebrations from across the world, and from all of us at KPBS, we wish you a Happy New Year.